All right, Proffitt podcast listeners, I am so happy to introduce to you today, Molly. So welcome to the show, Molly.
Thank you so much for having me, Krystal. I'm honored and excited to be here.
Yes. And we kind of said like behind the scenes before we started recording, but Jess, we have to give you another shout out because we know that you're listening. Jess also set up this wonderful interview, and I just want to give a shout out to people behind the scenes that may not be in the limelight or in the spotlight, but it really does make all the difference when you can find the right people that can help you expand your brand, like share your message in a more unique way. So I just wanted to give Jess a quick shout out because she's how I found Molly, and how we are here today.
I love it so much.
But why don't you go ahead and start about telling a little bit about your story, maybe some of your background, because the topics that you cover and the things that you have within your brand messaging and within your business and how you help people can absolutely help our audience. But how did you get there? Like, did you just wake up one day and say, you know what, I want to be like really motivating for a lot of people? Like, how did that work for you?
No, not at all. It was definitely over like a series of feelings. And I think those feelings are so important to lean into. But I was a corporate accountant, and that's what my education is in. And I got out of college and I started in my corporate job and was like, climbing my way up the corporate ladder, so to speak. And I just really thought that that is what I was going to do till retirement. And till I was 65, I thought I would like go into the office with my Starbucks cup and my pencil skirt. And like, that's what I would do. And I was probably 4-ish years into my corporate position, and it was going well. And I was, checking a lot of boxes and showing up with like a smile on my face and doing a good job. But I just felt really unfulfilled, and I felt really unsettled. And I was like on my commutes in the morning, I was like, is this really it? I just feel like there's something more for me, but I don't really know what. And so I started to listen to podcasts. I started to read like self-development books. I didn't really know that that's what they even were, but I was like, I just know there's something else for me. And so over the course of probably a year, I was in this like limbo of like, what do I do? And I was looking at LinkedIn at other corporate jobs, but I'm like, I know it's not like just applying for another job. It's something within me that like, I want to go inward and bring like this Molly out to the world, but I'm not really sure how. Anyway, I ended up starting a health and fitness business for fun. It was like a little passion project, I call it, my little side thing. And I fell in love with it, and I started to see a bigger vision with it. And so I just kept taking one step in front of the other, and then was eventually able to transition away from my corporate job.
Oh my gosh. Well, I want to go back to, here's Molly. She has, I don't know if you ever watched like Sex in the City, but that was like my thing. I was like, I want to be Carrie Bradshaw. When you said pencil skirt in Starbucks, I was like, or like Devil Wears Prada, where you're just like, okay, like I'm not going to be the one fetching all the coffee. I'm going to be the Miranda Priestley,
Right.
like the one that's like telling all the little people what to do. But I love that you said, you have this moment like on your commute, because I know there are so many people listening right now. They could be listening to this episode right now on their commute, and they're like, wait, she's talking to me. Like, this is where I am right now. So what did it really look like? Because where I find so many people that come to me and say, well, I want to share this message, but I don't even know where to start, because that wall of imposter syndrome, because you said you do like health and fitness stuff and you're doing some coaching, like that's not your degree. That's not what you have this training in. So how do you go from, well, I kind of have this idea, but what do I do next?
Yeah, it's funny because I literally just started. And when the opportunity was presented to me, my friend asked me about it. She's like, you love health and fitness. Maybe you should do something like online health and fitness coaching. She was doing some of it as well. And I was like, oh, do you think I could do that? And she's like, yeah, yeah, I'm doing it. Just try. And I was like, what do I really have to lose? Nothing. That's kind of how I looked at it. I'm like, at the end of the day, this is probably going to help me with my health and fitness habits. Yes, I have to put myself out there in a new way. And that was very uncomfortable for me. But I was unfulfilled already. So I was kind of like, what do I have to lose? Like, and there just wasn't a lot when I answered that question. And so I started sharing online, and I was not good at it. And I see my first like pieces of content and I'm like, what was I thinking? But it got me started. And it's just like Krystal always says, you have to start somewhere, and we all start somewhere. And so I started really messy on the side of my corporate job.
Oh gosh, I love that. Did you have this fear of like, what if someone from my job sees what I'm doing? Like,
Yes.
were you in a
Yeah.
position where you had like direct reports, or were you like an individual contributor where like it was just you, but you were worried about your bosses seeing you? Like how was that?
Yeah, no, I was in a management position. I had a couple people reporting to me, and then like my colleagues were friends on Facebook and everything, and I was like, this is going to be out of my comfort zone. But it was kind of interesting, Krystal. A lot of them were like, it's so cool what you're doing.
Yes.
And I was like, yeah, I'm having a lot of fun with it. And, in the beginning, that's really what it was. And so maybe someone who's listening who is really worried about just starting and, like you say, ripping the Band-Aid, like just start for fun, and see
Yeah.
what happens. Like, it doesn't have to be this like life or death situation or like this really big commitment. And I think when I took the pressure off myself like that, of like, I'm just going to try this and I'm going to see what happens, that made it less intimidating.
Yeah. Oh, this is so
So
good. Like this is the perfect segue into, because you've talked about, just getting started. And what I found is, people that I work with, they'll say, well, I started it, but then I quickly realized, oh, I don't like this title, or I don't like the audience that I thought I wanted to speak to. I need to talk to this person instead. So has that evolved? I know you said you kind of started your podcast and everything with your brand. Like, has your brand evolved, or is it still that initial vision that you had from the very beginning?
no, it's evolved a lot. I mean, I initially thought I was going to help marathon runners and half marathon runners with like running training, because that was kind of my story. And I did that in the beginning, and it was like kind of a way to get started. And then I was like, you know what? I think I'm really trying to help women like me who want something more in life, and they want to feel happier and they want to feel more fulfillment. And so it has kind of morphed, and it's really followed me through the seasons of like corporate professional to, getting married, pregnancy. Now I have 3 kids. Now I bring in a lot of moms of little kids. And so it has really evolved throughout the seasons. But yeah, now I really speak to the woman who just wants more in life, and she's a high performer, but she wants it to feel meaningful and she wants to feel fulfillment, because that was very much my story.
Well, I love that you shared that about this is not where you ended up, but it's where you had to start. And I think that so many people get overwhelmed with all the possibilities of what they could do in their content, that they don't realize, like, when people say you got to just pick one thing and go with it, I think that's the scariest part, because people are like,
Yeah.
what if it's the wrong idea? What if it's the thing that people don't want? And they get so caught up in making mistakes. But I mean, I don't know if this has been your journey, but I feel like the mistakes are where the magic is, because then you
Yes.
can quickly say, oh, that was a terrible idea. Let me go in the
Yeah.
opposite direction and do something else. But how did
Yeah.
that evolve for you? Like, from helping these marathon runners, when were you like, okay, like, people are like, were people asking you for other things? Or did you just
Yeah.
feel like, I think it's kind of run its course and I need to switch to something else?
I think it was a combination of both. I think
Yeah.
I got a little bit bored with it, like me personally, and I just saw so much other opportunity that I was like, well, I want to like play around with some of this other stuff that's in my brain and just see what happens. And I love what you shared, Krystal, because I always say more posts equals more practice.
Yeah.
And every piece of content is another data point that you can look at and be like, how did that feel for me? And then also, how did it perform? And that's what I still do today. I just like share things that feel aligned with me, and I practice and I listen to podcasts like Krystal's to like help me navigate this. But I think you're going to have to pivot a lot. And so it's just like getting comfortable knowing like this probably won't be what I talk about forever, but it's what I want to try right now. And so I have to give it some time and get some data points to see how it's received.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. This is so good. And this is why, and I told Molly before we started recording, I was like, I want to hear everything about your
Yeah.
content because this is what my listeners love. They love to hear the different evolutions. And because so many people get so caught up in their own thoughts. So this was
Oh,
a great
yes.
segue into, the next piece because people usually don't have someone in their life. Like I think you were so lucky that you already had a friend that was semi doing this in a way that you're like,
Yep.
well, maybe that could work for me. But were there any family, like friends that were like, Molly, what are you doing? Like you're on your way to being, the state comptroller, like you have this path like cleared for you. You're going to be a CFO one day. Like you're throwing your life away trying to do all
Yeah.
this other stuff. Like did any of that kind of manifest in your journey?
Yeah, it did. It manifested probably the most with my parents.
Yeah.
And I had a great upbringing. My parents are really like supportive of me but they were just confused. There's
Yeah.
like the generational difference for one thing. And they were like, what are you doing? Like posting all the time? Like, I don't understand. Like, are you trying to leave your corporate job? And I was like, well, I don't know, but maybe and it was such a like far-fetched idea for them. And it was an online business. It's still a far-fetched idea for them. And I've been successful with it, but I was really convicted and I was
Mhm.
convicted within me. And so my belief was really strong. And, my husband could see that and he was a big supporter. So, and I know not everyone has that kind of spousal support, but he would like stand up for me all the time. Like, Molly's doing really good. She's having a ton of fun with it. And so we just used it as an opportunity to explain why I was doing it. It brings me a lot of joy. Maybe I could like be home more with my future kids someday. And, yeah, we just I kind of navigated as I went, but I think your belief just has to be stronger than anything that you hear because most people, they just aren't going to get it because they're not you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is so important. We actually talked about this earlier too. Is like the concept of just embracing change, which we've already talked about pivoting multiple times, and then those non-traditional paths because I like same all across the board, same. When people
Yeah.
are like, "Oh, I watched your podcast," and I'm like, "What are they talking about? Like, what is?"
I
And it was
know.
like when I was going live on Facebook, I was like, well,
Sure.
that's just a Facebook Live. Like, that's not really a podcast. Like, that's not turned
Yeah.
into anything. And they're like, no, no, no. I watched you on the YouTube. And I'm like, okay, well, so it can be hard and challenging when it
Yeah.
comes to that kind of stuff. But if
Totally.
someone were listening today and, we kind of already gave some tips for like the spouse and parents, but
Yeah.
what can we do to look at other relationships? Like, did you start networking with other health and fitness professionals? Like, how did
Yeah.
you kind of find a community and a place where you kind of just were like probably dropped in, like, you dropped into a
Yeah.
pond of people that you're like, hey, I'm new here. And like, do you want to be
Yeah.
friends? Like, what was that like for you?
Totally. I looked for a lot of mentors from afar at
Yeah.
first because there wasn't a lot of people like in my space who were in like my friends and family and even beyond that, most of my friends and family were working corporate jobs or teachers or nurses, and so I was the first one in my family to like, be an entrepreneur, like kind of pave my own path, that kind of thing. So, yeah, I listened to a lot of podcasts of people who had gone before me. I read a lot of personal development books to like get my mind in the right spot, whether it's business, leadership, content creation. Like I just really became a student and I started to, you know, transform my beliefs on like, well, I can create a career doing this and I need to like soak myself up in that kind of messaging. And so, yeah, I found mentors, Krystal. I think but they weren't even like, necessarily direct mentors. Some of them, they didn't even know they were being a mentor to me, probably like people listening to this, but it helped me a lot. And it helped me know, okay, like they've done it their way. I can do it my way. And I can kind of learn from people who have gone before me.
Yeah, this is so good. And actually, that segues perfectly into my next question. So, first of all, tell everybody the name of your podcast.
My podcast is called the Dream It, Do It podcast.
Oh, I love it so much. I love the
Good.
name of this podcast. But when I think about, okay, like, so here's your show. And as you're building out the idea for this, because I'm sure it was like a figment of your imagination, you're listening to all these podcasts and you're like,
Yeah.
maybe one day I could do that. But the show that you have today, is it like a blend of all these different other podcasts that you had listened to, and you kind of took some pieces of like this one and maybe I could do that? Because whenever I tell people, they'll say, well, no one does exactly what I want to do, or I want to do something kind of like this, but a little bit different. They get a little overwhelmed, and two
Oh,
things happen. They either end up sounding exactly like one of their
oh,
mentors and they're like a copycat version, or the second thing is that they try to get so far away from what other people are doing that I
mm,
feel like their message kind of gets watered down into like, it's just so generic because they're not making a stand and saying, this is who I am. This is who I
yeah.
talk about. So I don't know if you have anything, that like in your own experience of your journey, anything that's gone that way.
Yeah, well, I started my podcast because I'm always connect more to podcasters personally than I do to like reading social posts.
Yeah.
And I'm on Instagram primarily, some Facebook, some TikTok, but like podcasts is where I feel like I know Krystal because I listened to her podcast. And if I went to her Instagram, I might feel like that. But when I can hear someone's voice for like 20 minutes when I'm out on a run, I'm like, oh, I like this. This is helpful. It's awesome. I feel like I know her. And so I was like, well, that's the platform that I really want to be on. And from the moment that I knew I wanted to create a podcast, I kind of started just jotting down some ideas of shows, and I didn't know exactly what it was going to look like, but I never like was like, oh, I want it to be like this podcast, or I think I want it to do it like this. I just kind of kept my blinders on, and I was like, I know what I want to talk about, and I'm not sure what 100 episodes are going to look like, but I know what the first 3 are going to be. And then I know what the first 10 are going to be. And so I've literally gone one episode at a time. And it has kind of evolved, and obviously I've gotten more confident on my podcast, but yeah, I didn't really try to model it off of anyone else's.
Oh, well, I want to go back to what you just said about being more confident on it. So can you kind of
Yeah.
unpack that a little bit? Because I feel like that could be really like a deep topic, because that could be with your voice, with your
Yeah.
message, with who you're talking to. So tell me what you mean by like feeling more confident.
Well, I remember those first, batch recorded my first 3 episodes, and it took me like 6 hours to do that because I kept starting over. And then I would like, my voice wasn't on. And then I was like reading from my like script that I had. And I was like, this is terrible. So I just kept stopping and starting. And I was like, okay, I need to get better at this, but I knew that I would. And then, episode 4, it was like came out a little quicker. And now I can record an episode, or an interview, like one and done, and so, yeah, it just took me a while to feel confident about what I was saying the first time and not overthink it and not feel like it had to be perfect. Um, yeah, I don't know if that answers your question,
Oh,
Krystal, but
yeah.
yeah,
It absolutely does, because like I said, it's like the word confidence for me as a creator can be so many things because,
yeah,
especially like as women, I've talked about this a few times, but it's like you have different levels of your cycle too. That's like
yes,
some
yeah,
men are like, oh, they're cringing right now. I don't care. We're going to
yeah,
go here today because I have confidence levels that vary throughout a 30-day
yeah,
period. And I know that when I get into a certain time frame, I'm like, I'm crushing life. I don't even know like what, like I'm just sitting here,
yeah,
and I'm just like, I will just be like, man, life is good today. The sun is shining. It's beautiful. And there are other days where, Molly, I'm not even kidding you. I'm just like, if I have to see one other person today
totally.
and
Yes.
interact with them, they could be my family, they could be my children. I'm just like, shh, don't talk to me today. So I
Yeah.
think that the level of confidence is just one of these things that people can really identify with the extrovert and say, well, that's what confidence looks like. But I
Yeah.
wanted to ask you, how does that look like for you? Like, are you like on the surface level, like at your core, are you more of an extrovert or are you an introvert?
I am more of an introvert. I definitely get my energy when I'm by myself. And, I say I'm an extroverted introvert because
Yes.
I can definitely like lay it on and I can show up and I can do it, but I do feel very depleted after like, being with a lot of people or having a lot of conversations. So, yeah, I think another thing with the confidence, Krystal, is that you like I would say action creates confidence. And so
Mhm.
every single episode that you do, you're going to get more confident. And I can hear it in my voice. Like when I go back and like listen to old episodes, I'm like, oh, it's like, I hope I don't sound like that now, because it transforms. That's kind of the beauty of it.
And that's why I cringe every time. I'm like, you
I
can
know.
go back and listen to my old, like, I don't really want you to, but you can. Just don't tell me about it, or, like just keep it to yourself, because I can't. Like, I stumbled across, it was an old YouTube video. I was in the back end of my YouTube, and you can like sort it by date. And I
Yeah.
hit the wrong
Yeah.
button, and it popped up like my oldest video. And I was watching it, and I was like, oh my gosh. Like, I wanted to go back in time and coach her on like, your lighting
Yeah.
is terrible. No one could hear you. The audio is crap. But at the end of the day, like, and we talked about this earlier, it's like those mistakes are the magic that you have
They
in your
are.
content. And
They
oh,
are.
yeah. But I know that this is something that you work with people on. Like, you work with them on like the coaching aspect of like going through all of these different changes and these paths. So can you talk a little bit about like what it is specifically that you do, whether it's on your podcast or in your business, to help people really embrace those changes and work through them?
Yeah, I help primarily women. So I have kind of two facets to my business: health and fitness routines, and then starting a business around health and fitness. And it's funny because the nerves and the anxiousness that people have about starting, they're almost all the same.
Yeah.
And so we think that we're like some, really unique. Well, I'm worried about this because I have this job, and it's like, yeah, same. Like we all have these fears. And so I really help people to just kind of help the women I work with to find their own voice, find their niche right now. Like niche is so big on Instagram, and really like find their stance on within health and fitness. What do they want to stand for? And how do they want to serve those people on the other side? And so, yeah, I'm working a lot with health and fitness routines and helping people create content around health and fitness and nutrition in a way that feels really good for them.
Yeah. Yeah. This is
Yeah.
great. And this is maybe like a super weird question, but we're going to go there, and you could be like, Krystal, that was a weird question. Let's not ask that. But
Yeah.
when I think about people that show up online and they are in a health and fitness, like whether it's like workout routines or food prep, like there's
Yeah.
a certain element to that I have noticed that it's something that makes me a little uncomfortable when people are like, well, you got to show yourself in like your workout gear, or you need to show
Oh,
yourself like just in a sports bra, or, the
yeah.
sweaty version of you when you're doing X, Y, and Z. And so I'm curious, is that something that manifests? Because I know that there's a few people that are in my audience that I can tell they're holding back, because I'm a
Yeah.
coach too. And I'm like, they're playing it safe, and they're
Yeah.
playing it to where they're like, this is what I'm comfortable with. Going back to, I don't know if it's support in their
Yeah.
family and they're lacking, like somebody's judging
Mhm.
them behind the scenes. But I feel like if you could just crack it open a little bit, like everything would just explode for them. So I don't know. Let me know your thoughts on
Yeah.
that.
I think you can do it however you want to do it.
Yeah.
But I think to your point, Krystal, you have to be real. And that doesn't mean you need to be in a sports bra by any means, but it means you have to be showing up, like showing them what you're doing.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what you're wearing. Doesn't matter if you have makeup on or not. Like I always say you have to be proof of your product.
Yeah.
And so if you're trying to lead others in health and wellness, well, then I need to be showing up in health and wellness and like leading in it firsthand, just like Krystal leads with content creation, right? Because you're not going to be a trusted resource for others if you're not walking the walk consistently. And so I think you definitely have to be showing up sweaty and, like giving some of that, but it's up to you what you want to wear, like physically, how you want to create that content.
Yeah. Yeah. And for anybody that's watching right now, if you want to talk about showing up no matter what, my video just died. Like all of a sudden I was like, I just saw it was like blinking. It was like battery, like done. I'm like, oh, okay. So I had to switch, and like, boom, here we are.
That was a really fast switch, whatever you did.
I have my webcam plugged in too. It's like just in case of
Oh,
emergencies. So I was like,
smart.
oh, let me just like switch that. So I'm so sorry that just happened.
No.
But no, I totally agree. It's like showing up with what you have, the resources that you have. Cause I think that And I'm sure you can absolutely understand this, having your accounting background and understanding money. People
Yeah.
get so caught up in the budget. They see what is that saying? It's like the champagne taste on like, a beer
Sure.
budget or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
It's like
That's a good expression.
it's like I want everything to be fancy. I see what Amy Porterfield is doing and I want that version, or I see what these
Yeah.
other people are doing. And so I love that you said, it's like do what works best for you. And I love that you put your blinders on too. I meant to go back to that earlier. As you said, I don't even know what other people were doing. I just was like, well, this is the path that I'm on, and this
Well,
is
and
what I'm gonna do.
yeah, I've definitely had seasons where my blinders aren't on and it doesn't feel good. I
Yeah.
get caught up. I think it's just, we're innately human. We think, oh, should I be doing something like that? We start to play comparison and you don't have time or energy to waste on that. So it's like, you do you and see what feels good, but you got to do it and you got to
Yeah.
show up consistently. Otherwise you've got nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, this is so good. I feel like we could just like keep going. It's like, give me
Good.
some more good advice. Like, give me some more of the good stuff. I actually want to transition a little bit more into, how you work with people and like the different ways that you work on coaching. So I know you said, you have Instagram, you have your business. So tell me more about like, how is your business made up? Are you doing one-on-one coaching? Do you have courses? What does that look like for you?
So I lead on the customer side of health and fitness accountability groups. And I lead them either in a private app that we have or in private Facebook groups. So it's kind of group coaching, doing a lot of one-on-one check-ins, helping people stick to workouts and nutrition plans. And so I'm showing up in those groups in the trenches with them, sharing what I'm doing for my workouts, my recipes, my nutrition. And then on the coaching side, I lead weekly team calls for my team, and we talk about all sorts of things, from mindset to belief to how to, create a bigger reach on social media, how to really find your voice, niche, like all of the things, like a lot of topics that Krystal is talking about on the podcast, only probably a little more broad to all of social media, because that's primarily how we bring in our clients. And so, yeah, that's a little bit of like my business model.
That's great. That's great because that actually makes me think of like the chicken or the egg situation. So did you
Sure.
have your content first and then you started serving clients, or did you have your clients first and you're like all the facets of your business setup and then you started more with content creation and social media? How did that work for you?
Oh, that's a really good question. And I didn't have anything created in the beat. Like I made a post to Facebook saying, "Hey, I'm leading this accountability group. I'd love to help some other people too. We're going to be doing a 21-day program. Like, would anyone like to join me?" And I understand a post like that probably wouldn't go as well nowadays. That was 8 years ago, but I just started. And then I brought in a couple customers and I started to understand questions that they had and what they wanted. And so I started to create content around those questions. And then, it kind of just continued to evolve. But I've never really had a bunch of content before I've started talking to people, like bringing people in for it. So for me, it's been clients first and then content.
Yeah. And I think well, I know that there's a lot of people in this audience that they start with content and then they eventually are like, how do I monetize? How do I, do this and do that? I actually think it's easier when you've worked with people because you have people to ask like,
Yeah.
hey, I'm thinking, well, you have a few things. You have like a built-in launch squad. You could say, hey, I'm starting this new thing. Can you help me promote it? But you also have like, can I pick your brain about a few things?
Yeah.
Or you have like previous experience with them. You're like, oh, I know that people ask me X, Y, and Z over and over again. That should be my first 3 episodes, or this should be my starting blocks to build this thing. So for anybody that's listening, I don't want that to sound discouraging if you're getting started with content first, but I
Sure.
do think that if you do have an existing business or you work with people already, it can just be a great jump start for you to really feel more confident. We've talked about confidence so many times today in
Yeah.
what you're creating.
Yeah, for sure. Like I guess I don't think there's a right or wrong way to do it
Yeah.
as long as
Yeah.
you're taking action.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. For sure. And I love that too. Like you said it earlier. It's like just getting into action, taking those first few steps because you learn so much. And I think that that's the
Yeah.
hardest part is people like we talked about ripping off the band-aid and like just getting started. For a lot of people, it feels like the hardest part. I think because it feels so scary because it's like that's where the rejection could happen. It's like people don't
I
listen, people don't follow, people don't this. But like you said, putting out that first Facebook post and you're like, some people listened, some people had something to say. And if they hadn't, you probably would have said, well, next time I'm going to try this and next time I'm
yeah.
going to do that. So getting into action could just make all the difference.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of, because there's so much like content out there and good, helpful content that I think a lot of us can become knowledge collectors. And
Yeah.
it's like, we know so much, but we're not actually doing anything. And I always give this silly comparison to the coaches on my team, but it resonates. I'm like, if you're teaching your kid how to ride a bike, I have a 5-year-old daughter and we're just teaching her this. I'm like, we didn't sit there and talk about, okay, so here's how you're going to ride a bike. And, you're probably going to fall down. And then you're like, the neighbor might not like that you're riding your bike. Like, we didn't do any of that. You get
Yeah.
on your bike and you try it and you
Yeah.
fall down and then you get back up. It's like, it can really be as simple as that. But yeah, action is the best teacher. Experience is the best teacher for sure.
And it's so funny now that you said that because like for our kids, like we have 3 kids too, and teaching our oldest to ride the bike was the hardest because we didn't know what we were doing. We're like, we learned when we were kids. No one like taught us as adults. Like this is how you will teach your kids to ride a bike.
True.
So it was the same thing. So it was so hard with our first one, but with our last one, oh my gosh, Molly, I don't know if your daughter has one of these, but we bought one of those bikes. It has no pedals.
Yeah.
And he does his feet and he just goes. That kid can ride a bike. He's 7 now. He'll be 8 soon. He is so confident cruising around on his bike so much faster than his older brothers. But we learned as parents, again, this is like, it's so much like so many deep levels of what we're talking about today with just getting started. And you're going to make a mistake as a parent. The kid's going to make mistakes like getting started. And you're going to make so many mistakes when you start creating content, but you learn from every single one of them. And the journey just continues to evolve. And
exactly.
Yeah. That's what I love about it so much. Well, now we're going to move into our next segment that you're probably familiar with, but it is our rapid fire questions. So are you ready for these?
I'm ready.
Okay, awesome. So Molly, what piece of advice would you give to a brand new podcaster?
Oh, I would say this is one of my favorite quotes, and I remind myself of it all the time. And it's, we overestimate what we do in a year, but we underestimate what we can do in 10 years. And so I would say, get started and, you got to get that first year under your belt. So start now.
Oh, that's so good. Like that is a mic drop moment in and of itself. I love that quote too. I'm so glad you reminded us of that. Okay. My next question is a 2-part question. And that is, what is your dream podcast that you would love to be on? And who is your dream podcast guest?
Oh, okay. I kind of feel, I would love to be on Jenna Kutcher's Goal Digger podcast. I've learned a lot from that one, just about marketing and motherhood. I love Jenna. She's also like a Minnesota girl. That's where I'm from. And I would love to have Brendan Bouchard on my podcast. Love him.
Oh, those are great. Those are both so good. Yes, great choices. Okay, my last question is, do you consider yourself a perfectionist?
I consider myself a recovering perfectionist. And it was definitely the online space and content creation that helped me just break up with that, because I'm like, there's B- content is better than no content. So like, we gotta practice this. And that's the mindset I still have today.
Oh, this is so good. Especially coming from an accounting background, like way back in the day. Like I worked as an accounting clerk. It was so you have like Molly's level where she was. I was at the very bottom. I was at the very bottom of the accounting rung. And I just remember everything had to be so precise, like down to the penny. Like, I mean, there's no room for error. It has to match things. Like if A doesn't equal B, then something is wrong. You have to go fix it. So did you have any of that like ingrained in you?
I did. And I was like, I have to figure this all out. It has to be perfect before I do it. And then I was just like, that's not that's not the industry I'm in anymore. Like we kind of got to move faster. And I still like to analyze things, and I still like to see numbers. And I loved Krystal's recent episode on like, let's like really unpack the numbers and understand what's happening. And I'm like, oh, okay, I have a lot of opportunity here. But yeah, you can't be a perfectionist in this world. It won't work.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so true. And it's just, I love that it's like the beauty of you can continue to reinvent yourself and reinvent your content. And if you decide tomorrow that you want to go in a different direction, it's okay. Because if you built up an audience that really enjoys learning from you, they're likely to go with you in your next, venture. You mentioned Jenna Kutcher. I feel like she's reinvented herself multiple times, and people, they like, Jenna, we don't care what you're doing. We just love you,
Right.
and I think it's beautiful.
Gives you a lot of courage too, like watching someone like Jenna reinvent herself and continue to, serve us in a lot of different ways. Like, oh yeah, I can change, I can evolve. And isn't that all kind of what we want to do anyway?
Exactly.
Yeah.
100%. 100%. Oh, Molly, this was so fun today. I feel like we could have talked like so much. Like I want to okay, let's dive into the details of this and the details of that. But remind everyone again, the name of your podcast and where they can learn more about you and your business and all the fun things that you're doing.
Yeah. The Dream It, Do It podcast is the name of my show. So you can hop over there and take a listen. Krystal is going to be on in the coming month. So we're excited. I'm excited to like chat with Krystal selfishly more about her background and everything. And then I hang out mostly on Instagram, at molly.asplin. That's like where I probably spend the most time. And then, my website is mollyasplin.com. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we will have links to everything in the show notes, but thank you so much, Molly, for coming on the show today.
Yeah, you're so welcome. Thanks for having me.